Hi, everyone. This is March 5th, and this is God Talk, and our subject tonight is war. We're going to start out with our usual introductions, the name you want to be called, um, and your pronouns, and the answer to the icebreaker question, which Leo will bring to us.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Marco. Um, Hi, everybody. My name is Leo, pronouns he, him. And today's question is, what did you collect as a kid? For me, I used to collect anything Simpsons, and I don't know what happened to that collection. I just lost it one day, but I had a lot of Simpsons figurines, Simpsons plushies. I don't know what happened to it. Yeah.
Mhm.
What about you, Wayne?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jared. And let me see. I didn't really collect anything as a kid. I wasn't, I don't know. I had to grow up real fast. So
No,
I,
but you collected like knives and
oh
and
yeah, those like little
and
toy weapons. Yeah, I did do like toy weapons.
katanas.
Yes, I did do
Yeah.
like toy weapons. Yes, that's true. I love toy weapons back when. Yep, I remember. But it's hard because I only had like 7, so it's like hard to call it a collection.
That's all right.
Like, but I guess yeah, it counts.
Where 2 or 3 are gathered. Surely that applies to knives as well. I'm Carol, she, her, and I collected rocks, and I had like this thing I got from a little day camp in the summer at the planetarium where I had little examples of all kinds of rocks, and I had a rock polisher, and so I had, polished and unpolished rocks and just a big collection, a lot of which my mother threw away, including the rock polisher, or threw away or gave away while I was at college.
Oh no.
I was sad. Anyway, how about you, Marco?
Okay, I can buy guy. I go get weak.
Yeah, but what say your name and pronouns?
Oh, guy. Michael, him.
Marco, he, him.
I love him.
And you collected what?
Bye guy.
Football cards. And Leo already asked you if you had cowboys.
Oh yeah. Hey, the guy, bye go. Oh,
Nice.
yeah. Oh yeah, bye. I go with you get weak. I'm mad at you get weak.
He's talking about he's not going to be here next week, unless something changes. He's planning on being in Colorado. Um, so Alec,
I get my man.
Um, Alex Egan, and what I collected as a kid was anything space and aliens.
Oh.
I had like a stuffed Martian that was green and with the black eyes and all that. I had instead of like little plastic army men, I had little aliens that glowed in the dark. I had it all.
you are just too cool, Alec. Okay, let's go to Kreger.
Okay.
Gregor, he, they. What I collected was what I still collect.
Mm.
Cows.
Oh,
Even got a bell.
I didn't know that.
Oh my god,
Yeah, now we know.
Yeah,
cows!
now we know.
I'm from Wisconsin. I was born in Wisconsin and stayed there until I was 10. And I loved the Holstein cows when I was growing up. They're the most docile, beautiful, stinky creatures.
Um, that's pretty fun. My grandmother loved cows, but mostly Herefords is what she raised. All right, Suzette.
I'm Suzette, she, her, and I collected 45 records, like the little round disc records, 45s, and Donny Osmond, Bobby Sherman, Michael Jackson, or the Jackson Five. Um, I had that Tiny Tim Tiptoe Through the Tulip. I mean, it was awesome. And then Sugar Banana, ah, honey, honey. That played all the time, all the time.
You remember the song Dizzy?
Yes.
I'm so dizzy, my head is spinning like a whirlpool, it never ends. And it's you, girl, making it spin.
That is awesome. Y'all win the
Yay. Good
night. This is
times.
perfect. So here's
And
another song for you. War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
true that.
So that brings us to our subject. So what the heck is going on? We start we bombed a girls' school, an elementary school. What? I just can't believe it. What? Who wants to talk about what's going on? We're getting kind of some mixed messages on the media. Is this a war or is it not? I mean, um, POTUS called it a war, it publicly, but then they said it's not a war because he didn't ask Congress, and so it can't be a war. But then they gave him more privileges. Yes, Leo.
Well, it's definitely considered a war for the people in the Middle East. And, Iran has been preparing for this war for 20 years. And, according to their religion, uh, they've been preparing for this for longer than 20 years because of their religion that they practice. They see the U.S. as the great Satan. Um, so they've like I don't think that we should underestimate Iran by any means.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't think of too much. I just can't think of anything that would justify bombing an elementary school. I talked. I can't remember if I reposted it or not, but I saw a post from an Iranian author who said, she said, I was born in an Iranian prison. And my uncles were killed, and my parents, of course, were in the jail, and she said, I've seen the the terrorism of this regime, or in all the regimes since she was, as long as she's been alive. It's in my blood and in my bones. But she said, that doesn't mean I want my country bombed, my neighbors' homes bombed, and all of these people hurt. And I mean, there's so many different ways to do things. I just cannot understand. Alec?
Um, I haven't been paying that close of attention, so feel free to take what I say with a grain of salt. But from I don't know if it's too soon to call it a war or not, because like whenever it happened in Venezuela, they were calling it a war, and yet like I don't think Venezuela has necessarily fought back, so to speak, to make it an active war. Um, so so if um if Iran starts to, I guess, fight back, which I don't know if they have. Like I said, I haven't been paying that close of attention. If they're fighting back, then I would say it's a war, and if not, then I wouldn't say it's a war yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. And speaking of Venezuela, Leo has a great bit of knowledge about that and talked about it, when all that was going on, and when we had the next God talk after that started. So, Leo and Jared.
The oh, I see also Suzette's hand. Hi, Suzette, love you. The idea, I mean, it's difficult because you're dealing with the proxy war, right? Because like you have the fact that people like to do the thing where they have the idea that we're the sock puppet of Israel, when in some cases it's the other way around. For as far as like geographically and politically, like they do enforce a lot of Western hegemony on them in the Middle East, in that area. And so whenever you're having bombs that were donated to them, right? Well, where Israel is bombing, continuing to bomb not only the West Bank, Palestine, that everyone's been talking about, but also Iran. uh like you can't really, it's a war in every sense of the word. And it's a war that we are engaged in every sense of the word, because it's not, you can't just be like, oh, the abuser's not that bad, and not also be culpable in the abuse yourself, right? Especially when you're being like, hey, here's a belt, here's also a knife if you want to use it, like here's a slingshot to the abuser.
Right, right. I wasn't trying to say like. I
And
guess if like one person, like say, I guess this is a bad example, but like, say you and I threw insults at you. Um, would it be considered a fight until you threw insults back at me?
yes.
Right,
Right.
like that's what I was getting at. But if they're fighting back like you said, then yeah, it's definitely a war.
Yeah, yeah. With Israel, they are, because Israel is actively shooting, missiles at them, and then also they're shooting counter missiles back. But also some of those counter missiles are also pointed at specific, American bases and stuff, and like all these other different areas. Is Israeli, strongholds. It's a war. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't. But then honestly, I'm glad I prefer this than the alternative, which is just an act of terrorism, right? I always prefer war over terrorism, right? Because the problem with terrorism is it's like what we do to Africa, right? We just keep pillaging, and the people, they struggle to defend themselves. They struggle, to put up a fight against empire, right? It's like what we do in South America, right? It's like the people are just with guerrilla tactics are just doing their best to put up an honest fight, right? But it's better that it is that than just the continual hegemony of U.S. empire, which scares me whenever people are doing the war stuff and the other side isn't fighting back. That always scares me on a global scale.
Well, terrorism too, but like if you don't have a country to blame, terrorism is often anonymous,
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, that makes it harder to fight as well.
Yeah.
Because like terrorists don't have allies globally, like that. Hi, Sandy. Good to
I
see you.
see.
Hi.
I'm late. I thought it
Welcome.
started at 7 and I had to go to the grocery, so I apologize.
You're fine.
We're
You're
so glad
fine.
you're here.
Welcome, welcome.
Mm.
Um, And Alec, I really liked your example, and it made me think about the war in our church. Y'all knew I'd bring that up somehow. Okay, Suzette.
So there's two things in my mind. The first thing is no matter what comes out of the POTUS's mouth, it is going to be a lie. Because there's not really a whole lot of truth to anything that's being told to the American people. So a bunch of plutonium went missing. Nobody knows where it is, so they just assume it ended up in Iran, which it's possible. But we are in a different time and place when it comes to tactical war. Um, there's got to be so many more sleeper cells here in the United States than there were 5 years ago. There's got to be, I mean, we have drones now that we didn't have the last time there was, Middle Eastern war. There's a lot of things that are different, but I worry about the retaliation from people that are known to be very, God, I don't know what the word is, but very adamant and very passionate about their religion and what they stand for. And it really doesn't, what we're fighting for is different from what they're fighting for. They're fighting the war against evil, and we're fighting the war against who's got all the oil. We're going to take it from the Chinese now, and we're going to cripple them. And, it's so much bigger than, okay, Iran has a bomb. And a lot of the stuff that's happening happens as a shield to what's really happening. So, they make it big, they put it on the news, they talk about it, they got their opinionators talking back and forth, and meanwhile, we really don't know what's happening. We really don't know. So that's the part that scares me is the retaliation factor. Um, Anybody, especially with computers and hacking and all of that stuff, they can take down grids, they can take down water supplies, and it's been done. So, like, what are we doing? Are the American people prepared for, when the lights go out for a long time, kind of thing? So, I just believe that and we talk about all the time, Christy and I, about we need to get some MREs and make sure we have well water. So if our electric's out, we only have water for 3 days. We have dual propane tanks that and a whole house generator, but that's not going to stop anybody if it becomes, power gone for a long time. Or man, where are they gonna plug in them electric cars? That's what I want to know. But it's just such a bigger conversation than just war. What are the implications for us as people? I'm not talking about our government, like I'm talking about us as people, like what can happen to us? Are we going to see another Oklahoma City bombing? Are we going to see another 9/11? Are we going to see a grid takeover? It's just a matter of time before it gets ugly like that. So,
And then
you
how do the people respond to
right. Are you
I mean,
prepared? Are you
after
prepared?
9/11, we saw such an increase in in racism, in yeah,
This
and
is true.
and
But I
and
told you, I found those plans to the Grand Coulee Dam in the trunk of a rental car, and it had all the guard shacks marked and everything. And that was right after 9/11. When I lived in Spokane, a person from New Jersey was renting cars for obviously people from the Middle East renting cars from us. And they had them for long periods of time, and they accidentally left these plans in the back of a rental car. And we turned them over to the authorities. But, that kind of stuff's happening, whether we know it or not.
mm. Jared and Leo.
Well, just like Suzette said, it seems like this is a distraction from something else is happening in the background. Because if it was really war, you would think that Iran would be attacking, instead of attacking the U.S. bases, they would be attacking their water supplies for the Saudis. They would be attacking their power grids, because they're in the middle of a desert. And if they attack their water supplies, their water plants, they'll probably only have 2-3 days at most of water. So it definitely seems like I don't know, money is being exchanged some way, somehow, power. Because if it was true war, why not attack those resources first?
Mm-hmm.
Tactical.
Mhm.
What do you think peace is possible?
At
I
this
think
point, no.
that's a God thing. That's the God.
Well, I mean, like the problem with, it's just like white supremacy, right? Oftentimes we look at, like we look at the slow bleed of capitalism, the slow bleed of, systemic discrimination, the slow bleed of, people just constantly losing resources, jobs, and the home, and creating a homeless epidemic as, acts of system, like peacetime, right? But like in reality, like the war, like the dissolution of these systems is the necessary factor of eliminating war. Because those are all forms of violence, those are all forms of harm, those are all forms of killing. And whether or not you slap a label, whether or not it doesn't matter if you use the N-word whenever you removed people's benefits, right? The entire biases that formed that idea was built on this division that fundamentally fuels war. So I mean, it's really like, in order for peace to occur, right, there's a lot that has to be deconstructed. So like that's a hard piece, because it's not gonna be like, oh, we just stop bombing each other. It's gonna be, well, also we have settler states. Also, we have multiple classes of human beings that are not treated as human beings, right? Also, like, gay people, women, trans folks still don't got rights. Just, oh, Carol, you're on the your mic is muted, but you're amazing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Many of those groups that you just named were like kicked out of the military.
Yes.
And so I want to see all those people who pushed that. We went really quickly from, oh, we're not, this is going to be a missile war. We're not going to need boots on the ground, to, oh yeah, we're going to need boots on the ground. We're going to have some casualties. And I want those people who did that, who kicked, who kicked all the trans people out of the military, who limited women, who have been acting with such racism. I want those people to be the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
They're so nice in protecting the minority status from these wars. They're so kind. I thank them for their service in that regard. They know that we are so much more precious, I guess. I'm sure that's the reason for the systemic discrimination that they do, with the fact that the military is unfortunately a very, very important passage out of abusive situations, trafficking situations, and into economic, like prosperity for people who need an education but can't handle the debt. Yeah. That's what I'm praying for. Please. But yeah, it's hard, this whole war thing that we're going through. It's really hard. And it doesn't come without casualties. And war is fought on every front. We've discussed not only the war that occurs when boots on the ground, we've discussed as well the war that comes with information, the information war, where everyone's playing, mind games with information, right? We've also discussed, like just the class warfare, right? Of violence that happens between people from different economic statuses or like positions in existence, right? Whether black, white, gay, straight, women, trans, right? And we've also discussed, slightly discussed, like the war that occurs from spiritual violence, right? The spiritual warfare versus the economic warfare. So, like it's like these are all forms of war. I don't know how to eliminate that from the existence of humanity here with all these pairs of opposites at war with one another all at the same time. It's going to take several messiahs. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jesus really didn't come as just saying, I'm the king, I'm the
Yeah.
one that's here to lead the military. Everybody expected that, and that's not how he came. And I think from Jesus we learned that, peace and transformation begins in our hearts. Let peace begin with me. But now we got another song. But yeah, and I think it is just, I don't know, that thought led to me thinking, well, it is artists and creatives that have so much to say that can transform our hearts. So I mean, we can never forget the ripple effects of everything we do, including the work that we've been doing as anti-racist.
Mhm.
And I mean, this is why we don't want um, uh, power concentrated in just a few individuals. This is one of the things that's so dangerous about that. Is there, I mean, I'm serious about that question about, I mean, why the heck did we bomb an elementary school? Is there any excuse, any reason for that? What are the excuses that they're giving?
Well, that's kind of always been American foreign policy, right? Like we've always done stuff like that.
Well, did y'all hear there was a big contract with like a tech company, right? There was a big contract with a tech company that I forgot what it was called. I think if I remember correctly, it was like Tetron, something like that. It started with a T. I don't remember. Um, but they they were about to sign a big contract with the government, and what the government told them that they had to reprogram those drones to where they could have the capability of attacking people.
Mm-hmm.
And that tech company said, no, we will not do that. We'll rather lose the contract. We'll rather lose the contract and not program these drones to be able to attack people. And the reason that they wanted to reprogram those drones is because if a drone attacks people, in this case, if a drone attacks the school of girls, they can just blame it on the AI acting up, right?
Mm-hmm.
The algorithm didn't process correctly. And there's no one that has to testify to Congress. There's no one that has to answer to anyone.
Mm-hmm. Just an error, just a glitch. The bombing was a glitch. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And but like we always do that, with plausible deniability and like tricks and all sorts of things to try to, because we've done, this isn't the first school we've bombed, right? It isn't. Even in the Middle East, even just in the Middle East. Like we bombed black schools back whatever during the age of black excellence and all that,
But
like
this was no accident. They're bombing the next generation. They want to commit genocide. This is no accident.
I didn't think of it like that. Wow, that's harsh in my mind.
Yeah, bombing the next gen is a scary sentence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It really is
Mhm.
for us boomers.
Mhm.
I mean, just to see what the world has come to. Wow. Yeah. What do we think about the response of Congress? I mean, it seems like it seems like they're see it. I mean, I'm not up on everything that's going on, but I mean, it sounds like in response to what's happened, it seems like they've just given POTUS more power.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they voted against it.
yeah.
you
It's
know?
just like the response. I mean, you compare it to the response of MCC to the response of our MCC. You know, you got, there's a huge contrast, right? Like you have, like there are loud proponents in the Senate and in Congress, right, that are really against that war, like that military official, right, who literally had his arm broken in protest for like
Did y'all see that Marine that was protesting at somewhere in a court, in a higher court? He was protesting, and then they started to remove him, and the Marine
was screaming that we do not want to go to war on Israel's behalf. We do not want to go to war with Iran, right?
And he pushed the door to push it open so he could hold on, so they wouldn't have to carry him out, right? But then the door kind of closed in on his arm,
and they slammed
so his hand was trapped, and then they were pushing him, and then there was like some senator guy grabbed him by the arm like this and started pushing him, and his arm, you could literally see when his arm broke, like right here, it just like snapped.
Yeah. And then they had the nerve to end it with, thank you for your service is crazy. The blasphemy of it, right? Like,
it's horrible.
And, you have those, people standing up, right? Doing their best, right? In their best. Because like that, even that was an act of civil disobedience, right?
But also people there weren't defending him.
And
like at least one person get up and say, hey, what you're doing to this Marine is
wrong.
Wrong.
They literally,
like,
people
no.
were looking in the exact
people were just
direction, trying to avoid his screaming
or sitting down,
right? And like that's MCC looks like that Marine, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. We just heard from the pulpit. Thank you for your service, Manny.
like I love seeing MCC's statement on war, and them they're taking a strong stance, and I love their history of all their local churches taking strong stances, right, against wars and against like the pillaging of like foreign, like in favor of like the U.S. empire, right? But the silence is always so deafening, with our congregation. I really struggle with it. It's so hard. And so like that's where I come to think to this sort of like, I guess you would say, agreement with this, is that like there's peace, right, and there's war, right, and they both sometimes work hand in hand to enable violence, right? Because you have people who think that they're advocating for peaceful stuff, right? Because don't put your head down. Why are you making a ruckus? You're creating a scary environment, right? And they confuse that for peace, right? When they're actually advocating for war with their silence, right? And I always have a problem with that, just as much as I have a problem with like the people who they really only ever ask the abusers in these situations what their opinions are, like you ever ask, like an Israeli war general, right, or a U.S. military general, right, or I don't know, a person in a position of power that harms people, and never the victims, never the people on the Epstein list, like what's going on, right? Like what did you experience? Like I really that with all these dynamics that I'm presenting, I find it really difficult to ever see in this lifetime a world without these wars, right? So I mean that's where I'm at though. It's hard.
Yeah, that's a really important point that unity is not conformity.
Mhm.
Yeah, and here I go with another song that doesn't require me to hold a tune. Silence is violence for women, and
Mhm.
poor people were screaming, then I could relax.
Mhm.
I need
Mhm.
to drink 'em.
Absolutely.
All right, Suzette.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
I love you.
Oh, I do now. Want to know. Um, so I've always been the pacifist and the person and not going to take sides and the peacemaker and stuff like that. And I've learned a lot from your voices, that it does matter to speak up when something is happening to you that's not okay. And I was of the generation of, you speak when you're spoken to, women don't have an opinion, you don't have a voice. I had to learn that really later in life. But I'm learning a lot from the younger generation of people who are not like browbeaten by their parents, to submission. And, even if there are in abusive situations, they're more vocal about it. They have social media, they have outlets for expression. It's just, it's better in that way. But I am learning the value of speaking up.
Yes.
And I know this has been hard for everybody. And, I think back to, when this all started and the long conversation that I had with Leo and Jared in my car in front of Dollar General when you guys were, I just want to cry right now.
Love you.
And I was just like, don't. uh, take a stand, make make a noise, and then you did it, and then you got retaliated against, and then I felt like, oh shit, what did I tell them to do? But you would have done it anyway, because I know you. But
Yeah.
it's just a very huge realization to me that not even just as a female from a certain generation of people, that the importance is to not look the other way. Yes, to say something. Yes, if it bothers you. And I'm going to take that little list of how to talk to people from that Evangeline gave us in the um,
Nonviolent communication.
collective. Yeah.
Mhm.
And use that in a productive way to say what I think. And if I get retaliated against, it's just I wasn't meant I'm not that I'm not meant to be there, but it's just not my place. It's not a place for me.
Mhm.
If you're
Yeah.
gonna retaliate against me for saying what I think or how I feel, then it's just not a place for me. So you have to decide when enough is enough.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked.
I feel like
I mean,
I'm kind of repeating what Jared and Leo said from the beginning. I feel dedicated to stay just because I feel like it's kind of that's part of my not being silent is being there to um hopefully pastor some of the people who are staying, that are, or that aren't staying, but I can still be in communication with.
Yes.
I feel like,
We don't want burnt bridges, you know.
yeah,
We don't want
and
burnt bridges. We want, maybe, things always are in a flux. They're always changing and people come and go. And, maybe it can get better. And if it does get better, well, shit, I want to be part of that, and I want it to be something really good. And I was thinking back when I was washing clothes earlier to all the fun we used to have when, we had Broadway shows and we had like concerts and we had all kinds of stuff that was so fun and so, community, and they were well attended, and I mean some really amazing things, but it's been so quiet. It's been crickets for the last few years. And
one of the points that when you were talking about nonviolent communication that we talked about in the collective liberation retreat, I think a lot of us had some wrong ideas about that, so one of the things that stands out is when I think it was Evangeline said, or maybe it was Nicole said, nonviolent communication is not about being nice. It is about being direct and communicating clearly, and non. I do think it's about like not inflaming the situation more if possible, I mean, not using violent words yourself, not perpetuating the violence. That's what non-violent communication means, I think.
but
Uh,
yeah.
but but it's not about being nice, and
Mhm.
it's not about being silent for sure.
Well,
It's about direct,
one
calling.
year ago in April, I stood up for myself
Ooh.
for the very first time. I stood up for myself. I proclaimed that, I mattered and that what I was doing mattered, and that, I deserved to stay in ministry, and all the things that happened that, you know, I'm still kind of the outcast because I'm not on the org chart, but okay. I'm gonna just put myself back on there, and it's just the first time that I ever did that, and it turned into a win for me, but it wasn't really like a win-lose situation. I maintained my dignity and I maintained my voice, and it made a difference.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
thought the org chart was one of the things that is trying to be done away with, is that the whole hierarchy thing, and the org chart is,
That's the one thing that the anti-racism forces want to get rid of. But the
You need
hierarchy,
to know who fixes your computer or your email, or, that's not an org chart. That's just a who does what.
Yeah. Like job descriptions, I don't know why you gotta create hierarchy from job descriptions, right? Like if you do
exactly.
yeah, like
Th-
but
This, yeah, this preposterous thing that there cannot be, structure without hierarchy is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we've proven that over and over, right?
no, and I kind of want to give space also, to like the work of, Sandy, right? Because, Sandy also, really did speak truth to power in that regard in the exact similar way, like when, she, decided to, speak out and, disassociate herself from, harm and, take a strong stance, against all the things that she has been watching for a hot minute, And so, like, you're a badass, Andy. You're amazing. Also, if Shirley's there too, she's a badass too.
Yeah.
But she dumped into. Oh, hey, girl, hey! I knew it. I sensed it in my heart. I was like, oh Lord, there's some energy in the room that's being unaddressed.
Going on my attendance list. Yay. Good to see you.
you're muted, Sandy.
You're muted.
But still glorious.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. And thank you for telling me to get my butt here tonight. You know who I'm telling. And for me, going and being live, and yes, I'm emotional, so just know that going and being live really magnified what was going on for me. And I really hoped that it was not. And I hoped that I was going to be received the way that I thought I would be and the way I've been received before. And some of the ways I was received was, oh, I love you. You're so good. Your ministry's so important to the community, da da da. But did they want to spend any time with me personally? No. And these were people that were close friends that we did things with before. And it was just really sad that some of the people that supposedly, Alec, take care, thank you. Hope all is well. And it was just amazing what happened and how some people were so loving and caring to me, and some people were so, and all of you received my email. Okay. And it was interesting some of the reactions I got. I got some pretty loving, caring. I got some very loving, caring ones, including from each of y'all. Each of y'all did respond to me, and thank you. I really appreciated it. But some of the ones I got was like, OMG. It's like I was stepping on toes, and one of them didn't even address me really. There was no Dear Sandy, it was just Sandy, and talked about Mark's email, not mine, and talked about, oh, I'm going to get, we're going to have Pastor Candace address that. She's on a friggin' cruise. I mean, just some of the stuff and the way it was handled was, and this was from a friend, somebody who loves me.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the love and support in this group. Yes, as y'all know, I resigned because the way I was being treated was, and y'all, and Suzette knows this, the others of y'all don't. There's certain people I have to send the virtual service notes to. Okay, I have a list of people I'm supposed to. And I'm just gonna tell this story because I think it's a little funny and it points out some stuff. Um, I like if somebody did something special and they weren't on the list, like a Craig or Carol, or like when Adrian led that song so well and did that solo, I put him on the list as a recipient so that he would see, because in the chat, and Carol can remember in the chat, there were quite a few. Oh, Adrian, that's wonderful. Oh, da 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 da. I mean, there were a lot of compliments. So if I was getting compliments on people who weren't on the feed, I would I would CC them in the email. I thought that was appropriate.
Yes. Yep.
Adrian got approached. Why in the heck did you get CC'd on this email?
Wow.
And it was one that, and you remember that, Suzette and Carol? I mean, he had quite a few compliments on what he did. And so why would I not? And I also would send it to Z when people were talking about Z. I mean, I did what I thought was appropriate. And Suzette, I know, would cover me or she would let me know if something was weird. And she'd go, Sandy, is there a reason why you did that? If she thought it was inappropriate. And she never did.
You're giving somebody constructive feedback in love, and I don't think there's anything wrong with
But
that.
that's what's wrong with hoarding power. They want to hoard all the power, and they don't want to share anything.
And I want to point out that these are also forms of violence, of war, right? Of battle, right?
Psychological warfare.
Nobody ever
It's
said
white supremacy culture. It's look at these in the chat, silencing people, lack of transparency, all of those kind of things. This is all part of that culture.
And they were some of the people, and I mentioned this in my email. There were some of the people who, oh, they wanted to get together with me and didn't. I mean, there were several people who used to be good friends.
Yeah, that does sound really hurtful, Sandy. That's not
And
right.
that's part of why I'm leaving the church, because of that. Now, am I leaving my friends know. Y'all know that we love and care about you. And some of the amazing support I got, and just when I was there, you know, that, excuse me, but a few of you that signed and sealed signed and sealed y'all into my life.
Somebody remembers who spent 6 hours in the car to spend 3 hours with you.
And know that even though you resigned to these positions, like we still want to see you, we still want you to come to these groups, because that's our intention too. Like if we ever leave, we're not going to stop showing up to these virtual groups or chatting on the chat or nothing like that. I mean, we're gonna stop going to RMCC, but other than that,
When I took my 2 months sabbatical, I still came to God Talk. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a safe
I hope
space.
I hope this can always be a safe space. And, even if they kick me out, we'll find a way to open this space. We'll find a way to keep this open. And y'all, we are getting to the end of our hour, but Jared, I'm sorry I interrupted you a minute ago.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're super fine. Yes. And I also, just wanted to say, like you're Sandy, like it's really hard loving people have who have unfortunately succumbed to these discriminatory ideologies, because unfortunately it's never just that they just hate a black person or something, right? It's never just that they're just discriminate against one disabled person, right? It always bleeds into every interaction that they have. It's how they treat humanity, because if you treat one person a certain way, your body remembers it, holds on to that, and then internalizes that as a valid way to express self. And it really, and I want you to know, Sandy, that it really don't got shit, nothing to do with you or anything, right? Like these are systems that have far outlived these people in these positions of power, Donald J. Trump, right? Like these systems of racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, etc., exclusion, right? They've existed far beyond us, and hopefully they won't outlive us. But unfortunately, it's not the way that they've harmed our family and our friendships ain't got nothing to do with us. And so I just want you to, hold on to that truth, because you did amazing. You have done amazing. You have continued to do amazing, even in your advocacy. Don't let nobody take that away from you, because you a badass.
Amen. Amen.
Thank
And, everybody here has really been open and vulnerable, but Sandy, especially tonight, you named what a lot of us were feeling, and a lot of the hurt that we've been feeling, and I just appreciate that so much. I appreciate your vulnerability and your sharing and your advocacy, your voice. Appreciate you not being silent.
Thank you.
So.
Yes.
Gregor, are you ready to pray us
Well,
in?
Carol, I'm feeling, emotionally exhausted, burnt out. I went to the cardiologist yesterday and need to be careful of my blood pressure as well. I really don't know what to pray right now, so I'm going to ask you to close.
Okay. Oh, God of many names, you have brought light to us and hope in the darkness. And it just seems like so many people are trying to quench that light. And we thank you for the people who continue to hold the light, hold the hope, and just stand in in your way, stand in the place of truth and strength and all of the things that you stood for, um, when Jesus walked the earth, and still today. We know that that truth is still important. We know that you have never given up on us. We know that even through the hard times, you are with us. And we know that our relationship with you is not dependent on anyone or any church or any organization. We know that we can stand together, that we can connect, and that you will be with us through it all. And we love you, God, and we thank you for that. And we just ask for your blessings. We ask for some good to come out of all the work that we've been doing, all the beautiful work that we have been doing together. And we ask that you just bless our connections and our efforts. In the name of all that is holy, we pray. Amen.
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 And
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you so much, Sandy. Do come back, please.
Hey, Suzette, don't weigh it. Okay.
You may